Kenny's in trouble. He's going to run. He's going to get the first down.
Don't sleep on those legs. Oh, he faked the slide. Sauce time. The Pitt Panthers have pulled a stunning upset over the West Virginia Mountaineers.
And Johnny Majors gets a ride across the field.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. We know it's been a while, but I'm joined by my two wonderful, beautiful, handsome co-hosts, Mason Kling and Kent Vanderwood. We'll start with Kent this time. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Some off-season news to talk about today. So we get into it.
Hey, man, even the podcasters have an off-season. We got to stretch. You got to get used to having takes and all that. Mason, how are we doing?
Feeling good, man. It's a little warm outside. You know, birds are chirping. You got the little blossoms on the tree. It feels like spring, baby. Which means that after the spring game, we have a really, really long time without any sports. But no, it's good. It's a good time.
Good time it is. Before we get into any news about Pitt football, we have some personal news. We recently hit 1,000 downloads on the podcast. Everyone clap it up for us. If you're listening at home, clap it up as well. Thank you for the claps. And we recently just passed the podcast's 1-year birthday. I guess that would be 9 days ago now. I realize now that I could have held off about 3 days and released the first episode on Pittsburgh Day, April 12th. But, you know, mistakes were made. We'll check the film on that one. Just like to thank all of our listeners for coming along for the ride. And with that, it's spring game time. So me and Mason watched this together. Kent was unfortunately out of town. He was kidnapped by forces that we shall not name. I'll start off with the players who we did not see in the spring game. Pretty much all due to undisclosed injuries, I believe, or they just were not playing. Even Kenny, before his 2021 season, played about 5 snaps. Dejon Reynolds, the incoming wide receiver transfer from Florida, did not play. Kanata Mumpfield, the presumed wide receiver 1, was out. Gavin Bartholomew was also out, so that's wide receiver 1 and tight end 1 both out. Then on the defense, Tyler Bentley and David Green, two of the top D tackles, were not playing. But honestly, it just gave us a lot of opportunity to see more young guys and more of these depth pieces and how they're going to look sort of moving forward.
Yeah, it was a bummer to not see. I was looking forward to see Dejon Reynolds, honestly, just because the transfer game, you always want to kind of see what you're really getting with those guys. But I think he kind of proved himself, or, you know, we at least saw a little bit of him in Florida. But like you said, we got some good stuff from some of the younger guys and just helped us know even more ball.
Yeah. We're flexing ball and muscles. So I want to give my first quick reaction. Who's going to be a contender to break out this year? So on the D-line, Samuel Okunlola, number 17, edge player, and Sean Fitzsimmons, number 55, at D-tackle. Everywhere you looked, especially with Sean Fitzsimmons, they were disrupting run plays and really getting to the ball really fast. I am very quickly becoming a Sean Fitzsimmons guy. I think he can be pretty special. He's sort of that stockier D-tackle build, whippeal guy. And I think that he's going to really contend for some playing time, especially when guys like Bentley, Green, and Danielson need breathers on the D-line. Other than that, I actually rewatched some of it, and I put this in my takes after, but Donovan McMillan, the safety from Florida as well, another whippeal kid, he hits really hard. He's a very short tackler. He will probably play for a starting position in that backfield. One guy looked really, really improved from last year, not a newcomer or a younger guy, but Bub Means really looked like he put in a lot of off-season work. I think it really showed with 2 great catches in the spring game.
Yeah, it was cool to see that. Probably like the little bit more production we saw from him could have been from some of the guys like Kanata, Bartholomew, and them being out, but to show like he's capable was awesome.
I mean, that catch where he threw himself up in the air was really, really cool to see. And then another nice one down the sideline as well. Also, that deep ball, he probably would have caught like 20 yards down the field or 30, or I don't even remember how far it was, but he probably would have caught that if not for a perfect play by the safety on that. Where Phil kind of got hit at the same time. And then as well, on a different play, you kind of see it in the corner of the camera, but he beats Donovan McMillan in the corner badly down the sideline. So if he can continue the catching ability he showed sort of towards the end of last year and what he showed today or Saturday in the spring game, he's going to be poised for a breakout. And then I'm not really sure because they're true freshmen, but Lamar Seymour and Israel Polk looked really good at wide receiver, especially Lamar Seymour. He was catching everything that went to him, and they are really, really fast.
Wide receiver room engaged.
We're back. We're so back. It was just over, and now we're back. I have now a second category called guys who will be dudes in 1 to 2 years. Christian Veillere looked really fucking good. I don't know.
It was like we got to see a lot of him.
Yarnell.
And I'm blanking on the third guy that got a couple reps.
The freshman.
Yeah. Yarnell and Veillere both looked really good. I know it was kind of like the rumor they were going to be fighting for the backup spots here, and I think that I would feel pretty comfortable with either of them being two. So to have that depth is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think Yarnell kind of looked like you want a guy to look in his second full year. I mean, considering he didn't play football at all due to COVID his senior year of high school, then he was injured his true freshman year. But Veillere just has a really nice touch on the ball. He can get it out really fast. He's just had a lot of quick throws that I'd love to see. And then TJ Harvison, the freshman running back from Georgia, who ran for 2,000 yards his senior year. I think he might be buried on the depth chart this year. We'll get to that later, but he looked really good, even if it was against, sort of the second and third string guys. But if those are like guys on his level, he was pretty much dominating all of them. So that was pretty cool to see. Okay. Now moving into some actual film study. Not really film study, but Hammond's on kick returns. How do we feel about that? Because I'm not the biggest fan.
I mean, he housed one.
They weren't tackling on it, but yes, he did house one. That's sort of the same way I felt about Izzy. Like he's your presumptive running back one coming into the year. I don't love that he's taking every kick return. I mean, he's good at it. Let's call it spade a spade. He housed one. But if you have speedy guys like Seymour, Polk, and Nobuko, they could probably kick return instead. That's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if he'll be the guy going into the season. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with it because Izzy did it last year, but I don't know.
I don't know. Spin zone is you got to get your best players the ball as much as possible. So
that's true.
You can get a couple more touches a game for probably, arguably one of the best athletes on the team. Like risk reward is, I'm all right with it, but we'll see kind of how it progresses and how much of the workload he's getting from an offensive perspective. Like that'll factor into it a little bit too.
Let's jump ahead to this. So the running back stable looks like it's going to be Hammond running back one. You have Daniel Carter once again sort of seeing an expanded role in this game. A lot of short, quick hitter plays. There was one trap play they ran where he just hit the hole at full speed from like a fullback position. It looked awesome. Derek Davis looked really good. His touchdown catch where he tiptoed the sidelines. Great body control for that. Obviously, Sebo is still in the mix. You've probably got Harvison behind them, but like Mason said, if they're going to go more by committee this year, which it seems like they're going to, it would make sense if Rodney's going to be returning kicks as well. One position we need to know more about coming out of last year was punter. That was a terrible position for Pitt last year. They threw up some stats where Pitt was dead last in the ACC in average punt yards, below 40 yards a punt, which is really bad. I think it's safe to say that Caleb Junko, the walk-on, either probably grandson of former Pitt coach, I'm blanking on his first name, but he was a Junko as well. Probably the best punter we've had in a while. He was the most consistent. He was hitting the longest punts. The Elon transfer we got over the offseason was not as good. He was putting some short kicks up, not a lot of hang time, but there's one position that's probably locked down, and that's the walk-on punter, which says something about our punting recruiting, but he looks really good. He shined in the Sun Bowl with that 85-yard kick, but I'm happy to say we might not have to worry about punter for another year.
Sun Bowl record.
Sun Bowl record. Sorry.
Punting is the best offensive play there is, so glad we have that locked down.
Yeah. Offensive and defensive, don't forget.
Flip the field, baby.
Flip the field. Okay, now Mason, I want to ask you, what did you think about Jurkovec in his first action we've seen of him? I know he didn't have a touchdown pass, but he was 5 for 7. Sort of, what were you looking at? What did you see?
He looked exactly like I thought, in the fact that we didn't see a lot. And I don't mean from a skill set perspective. I mean, he was in the play, like he was in the game for maybe two drives,
2 or 3. But there's one he maybe threw once on.
Yeah. Like it was there was no. They weren't running the quarterbacks at all. They weren't. He looked, from a game management perspective, like it looked like he fit right in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were a couple passes where he was definitely feeling the heat, but the D-line is always going to be good for Pitt, so that's sort of a weird factor to put in your spring game of you always have a loaded D-line. And
we were talking about it, right? Like it's tough to talk about these games because you can't really spin zone it. Like you're like, Phil didn't look great, but like you said, is the defensive line just that good? Like you tear one down to build the other one up, to tear one down to build the other one up. So it's like,
right. I think he looked good enough. Like he didn't have any bad plays. Like he didn't have that really bad interception in the spring game last year. And sort of some of it comes down to me is like they've been seeing these plays all spring. Defense won both the scrimmages before. They won this scrimmage by the hair, by the skin of their teeth. They know what they're going to see, but even so, like that sideline pass to Bub Means, the one where he threw him open in between 4 guys, I'm satisfied. I think he looked good. Yarnell and Vayer looked good as far as backup roles.
The timing was there on some of those throws, which is like what you want to watch out for with the guy that's just coming into the program, like just making sure that the chemistry there, and for how early it is already, like to see some of that was good. I really just want to see him run, man. I want to see some of those zone reads come in, some of those scramble plays, use the feet a little bit more. I know they told him not to, but that's the biggest, like, what I want to see next.
Do you want to jump ahead to the last touchdown of the game then to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess we can.
Yeah, so the last touchdown of the game is from walk-on Jake Frantel, I believe, out of Wisconsin. So that's actually what we didn't see with the quarterbacks. Like me and Mason was saying, they're obviously not going to tell their quarterbacks to run. They can't get tackled. But down in the red zone, Frantel pulls a ball from Harbison and walks it in on the edge. Not walks it in, but he gets around the edge and gets into the end zone. I tweeted about this on the podcast account, but that's sort of what the offense has been missing, right? Last year, Keaton had all these like half-ass fakes where he would pull the ball from Izzy, and nobody's going to fall for Keaton Slovis, mobility of a statue, pulling the ball from Izzy Abanikanda, future NFL running back. So that touchdown, even though it was sort of like garbage time as far as the spring game goes, I think it is like a pretty good window into what this offense was missing and what quarterbacks like Vayer, Jurkovec, and Yarnell can add with greater mobility. Yeah.
You saw it was literally a flash in the pan because it was one play, but
yeah,
that little teaser was enough for me to get kind of excited about what it could be like.
Yep. So moving on, Shane Wabico he had one pretty bad punt return. He returned it from the 1. Probably would have been a safety in a real game. But he had another one that looked a lot better. He pretty much has like effortless speed on those punt returns. As far as what I saw from the offense, a lot of long setup screens, which I don't love, but I mean, what can you do? It's spring. They're probably just doing install right now. Like the
exactly.
broadcast said. They're focusing on screens a lot. All right. This is just a note I had that I thought was pretty funny. 57 is a big motherfucker. I believe that's Bam Brema on the D line. He's big. He's really big. That's all I have. He looked good.
Eat some blocks, baby. Eat those blocks.
Eat some blocks. Another note. I love that Elliot Donald sends his film to AD to his uncle Aaron Donald for film study. That's really cool. It's really cool seeing Aaron Donald, all the former Pitt players on the sidelines there. I know he had DeMar Hamlin running around on that Phil O'Brien pick 6. I want to say Jordan Whitehead was there and one other guy, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, they had a pretty extensive interview with Aaron Donald too, which was cool. Always, I mean, it's like the same. Like they do the same thing every year where they ask him, "Oh, you come back to Pittsburgh? Like what? Like
yeah, man,
what is it?" But yeah, but it is still cool to hear. Like I don't know him having love for the program still, because not everybody does, as we'll kind of get to later.
Yeah. Okay, last 2 notes. This is sort of bottom of the barrel, but I didn't write them down, so I figured it was worth going over. Jimmy Scott, who's a redshirt freshman, I don't expect to play a lot this year, considering all the depth above him, but he got after the ball on the D-line. He's really quick. He's the ball hawk isn't right. That's more of a defensive back thing, but he's got a nose for the football. And just as sort of a general note, kind of bridging last year into the spring game, I'm not a huge Carter Johnson fan. I don't think he's that great on pass plays. I like Jake Renda better on passes. It might be biased from last year, but that's something that I had to get off my chest. Not the biggest KJ8 fan, not KP.
That's fair. You're in a safe space. You can say that.
Okay, I'm gonna say space good.
Okay. What about the? I'm honestly surprised we made it this far without talking about it. But the 12-point pick 6 and just the Narduzzi scoring in general.
Okay. Yes or no? Should we move to a Narduzzi ball scoring system in football? I think it'll be pretty interesting. It leaves some very high scoring games, right?
Yeah, the overs would be awesome. But it was basically just like, what's that real shitty show that's on ESPN all the time, where they just give out points willy nilly?
Around the horn.
Around the horn. This game was basically just Pat Narduzzi's version of around the horn football, where he was just giving out points. Like
there were some players we thought would get more points and that they didn't, and it's just because, just like around the horn, he controls the points and he alone.
He's the judge, jury, and executioner.
I would love to see Pat Narduzzi moderate around the horn. I think that would be one of the funniest things you could ever conceive.
It would be so funny because you could pander to him so easily.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You would see a 10-point jump, and then, someone mentioned a Penn State player, 10-point drop, immediate. Yeah. West Virginia, you're back to 0. You're actually in the negatives. You mentioned West Virginia. Okay, so next up on the docket is the Most Improved Players Award. So for reference, last year, Bengali Kamara and Daniel Carter won them. Daniel Carter obviously didn't get much chance to play with Izzy Abanikanda being who he was. Bengali Kamara was a huge contributor on the defense. This year's winners were Nakai Johnson and Carter Johnson on defense and offense, respectively. So you know that Pat Narduzzi loves J&J. He's a huge vaccine fan. One shot to rule them all.
He's boosted.
He's boosted. We're activated. We're boosted out here. So even though I just did say I don't like Carter Johnson, he did win Most Improved Player. So I am completely contradicting myself. Whatever. Now, as far as transfers post-game, we only had one transfer out of the program after. This is now the post-spring practice transfer window. Wide receiver Miles Alston transferred out of the program. And pretty much it's a depth chart issue, right? Like, this guy was obviously getting less playing time than Polk and Lamar Seymour, who are true freshmen. So it kind of makes sense. Obviously, wish him the best in finding a new home to play football at and wishing the best success there. Now, one last thing before we move out of the spring game and into recruiting. Just kind of going through the list of recruits that we had. at the spring game, right? Obviously, there were some commits that were here. Zion Fowler, Eric Ingerson, Jasir Whittington were all there. Jasir got a picture with Aaron Donald, which was very cool. Something to keep an eye on. There were a couple of 4-stars on the grounds there. I'm not sure which one's. I know Chauncey Gooden is the number 1 offensive guard in the country from Tennessee. He was there. He's a 2025 recruit. A couple guys at Pitt offers, even a class of 2026 guy, which is pretty interesting. They're looking forward. They're looking pretty far into the future with that. A lot of quarterbacks were there. A couple of Pitt offer guys. Obviously, some other guys who are looking to get Pitt offers, and then more signees from the 2023 class just visiting before they get to campus next year.
Got me hyped up for some Narduzzi tweets about these guys. That's all I'm saying.
Well, speaking of Narduzzi tweets, look at that. Look at that fucking transition. We ran a poll. What is the best genre of dudes tweet? The 4 options were birthday tweets, the new recruiting hashtag, pictures where he cannot smile, and overboard emoji use. Now, pictures where he can't smile eked out a narrow victory with just over a third of the votes. Recruiting hashtags and emoji use, both close contenders. Now, if you guys had to pick, what side are you on? Civil War.
I'm going with the emojis, man. It's just something about just thinking of Narduzzi crafting that tweet and him looking like just scrolling through the emoji keyboard, being like, "That's the one."
Well, the thing is, that's the one, and then he's like 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he's going up.
Yeah. I don't know. Just hit that thought process to me. It just cracks me up.
Yeah, that actually came in a relatively close third, I guess. But,
yeah.
When I voted on this, I said the new recruiting number or hashtag, new recruiting hashtag. I just think those are kind of funny, and it just hypes me. It just gets me hyped, dude. Like light the beam.
All right, let's talk. Did they steal that from the Cathedral of Learning? Did they steal our beam?
Oh, I had to, bro. When they introduced that, I was like, that's quite literally Kathy. Like, isn't it just like a big blue beam into space?
Yeah.
It's purple.
Purple. That would make sense, but yeah.
The thing about their beam is it comes out of a dome. It's not like you can see the beam. If you're outside of Kathy, you can see where it starts at the top. The King's beam is just from the top of their dome. So you have to go like miles away to even see the origin point of the beam. So while I love it, like the beam, come on. Got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, they should have. If they give us a shout out, we'll forgive them.
Okay.
But until then, it's beam on beam crime.
And the major newspapers will not report on beam crime. Personally, I'm going with the picture where he can't smile. Every single new picture of Pat Narduzzi is just one where he looks so caught off guard. It's awesome. I love it.
They're all great. He's a great social media guy.
The reply to the tweet actually geeks me from @DixonDisciple. The screenshot of Narduzzi going.
Yeah. So what's with the double peace signs with one being upside down? Like, okay, so it's obviously an in-home recruiting visit. It's got to be, but what does that mean? Like, it's like Vape Nation. Vape Nation, y'all.
Yeah. I have no idea.
It's a super interesting pose, Nard.
Okay, low-key might need to throw that up as the pod profile picture for a little bit.
Well, yeah, in between now the new logo. All right, I'll make it happen. I'll get on that right now.
All right, thank you, @DixonDisciple. Give credit where credit's due. But it's probably time Nelly can probably come down.
I know. I was trying to think of a new one, but nothing really called out to me. And now that you've pointed it out, yeah, this is what we need. This is what the people need, and it's official. We got Nard.
Let's go.
All right. Moving on. So earlier this week, I took it upon myself to watch the highlight tapes of basically everyone who has committed to Pitt so far. And I just kind of did a 3 or 4 minute watch of their highlight tape, not going through the whole thing. Some of these guys are like 10-minute highlight tapes. I was like, that's a lot of highlights. I think I can get the message. But I'll say with a discount, everyone looks like a 5-star on their highlight tape. I could probably make myself look like a decent 3-star if I pulled up my high school highlights. A little different kind of athlete, but I'm just going to go through it sort of rapid fire and kind of note where these guys have other Power 5 offers from to give you an idea of like who we were competing against to land these recruits. We'll start with the guys we know about. Day-to-day farmer, wide receiver from Florida, 4-star offered by Penn State, West Virginia, Miami, and Texas A&M. I believe I went over this earlier, but very impressive. He's fast as shit. That's really my main takeaway from his tape. And then the other guy we know about is Jasheer Whittington, 3-star, 4-star, depending on the recruiting service you use. All from Penn State, Tennessee, West Virginia, Michigan. So I watched his sophomore tape. He didn't have his junior tape uploaded. He can get off block extremely well. He's a nose for the ball, and we know he's got that stockier, shorter, Kalijah Cansey, Aaron Donald build. Now, on to our new guys, starting with Jules Goff, running back from York, Pennsylvania. 3-star with offers from Rutgers, Duke, and Boston College. He's really fast. There was one play where he outran the high school camera. He also returned kicks in high school. He showed some pretty good shiftiness and can really, like, not juke out of his shoes, but can evade tackles really well. Not that big, though. So, probably like Skinny Izzy, if I had to give a Pitt player comp.
Skinny Izzy's a sick nickname.
You're right, dude. That's an album title. That's a band name.
Yeah, that's a rapper if I've ever heard it.
Skinny Izzy, yeah, okay. Moving on to Giovanni Cooley, a tackle from Erie, Pennsylvania. 3-star offers from Vanderbilt and Syracuse. It's kind of hard to judge O-line highlight tapes, especially if you're not familiar with level of competition, which I'm not. I don't pretend to be. But what I saw, he's a bully. He's really big. He's a great plogger on stretch plays, which translates really well into this zone running scheme. Moving on to Francis Brubu. I butchered that. It's Bribu, maybe. D lineman from Columbus, Ohio. 3-star with offers from Cincinnati and Minnesota. So he played in a 3-3-5 where he played both nose and edge in high school. Great speed off the snap, great with his hands and extension. He can fight blocks, get off them really well. He's got a mean and nasty bull rush. I saw him shed a center to make a tackle on the running back right next to him. So you got to love that. That's kind of what Narduzzi and Bates are looking for in these D linemen, are these fast guys who are really able to get off the ball with a ton of power.
Cool. Love it.
Love it. I know. I probably should have sat down. I don't want to watch these. Big mistake. Next up, Ty Ewis, D lineman from Central Catholic. He's a 3-star with no other Power 5 offers, but I saw he set a good edge. I know Central Catholic has some pretty good competition as far as the Whitfield goes. He's got some really good speed chasing down the ball. He will absolutely fight through any smaller guy like a tight end who's set to block him. He never gives up on a play. I could see him maybe moving to backer because he's a little bit skinnier, but that's all set to change with his senior season coming up. Sorry, I heard just senior? Junior? This is class of 24? Junior season coming up. My bad. Next up, Adam Avaraya, lineman from Exton, PA, eastern side of PA. 3-star offers from Syracuse, Rutgers, and West Virginia. Big, powerful pancake factory. The first 3 highlights on his tape are all pancakes, and he's really good at pulling, good for seeing scheme. Next up is Tayshawn Banks, a safety from Cincinnati, Ohio. He's a 3-star. He's kind of like surprised he's a 3-star. He's got offers from Cincinnati, Michigan, Penn State, and West Virginia. He has kick return experience. He's a huge hitter. He's got a nose for the ball in open space. Kind of like you guys, he's got great closing speed on runs. 2 guys left. Next is Eric Ingwerson, tight end from Nebraska. 3-star offered by Nebraska. I think he's got interest in Iowa as well. This guy's like 6'7", huge target, throw it up and get it guy. In high school, they put him at X receiver on fades, and he also returned an onside kick for a touchdown. So I love that.
We love wonky plays.
Yep. And last committed guy in the class is Zachary Crothers, an edge from Florida. 3-star with offers from Minnesota, Indiana, and Oregon State. What I saw is he's really fast, but probably a little raw as a pass rusher, but you put him in the Charlie Partridge system, and he's probably going to be okay. Now, as far as openings in the class left, you're going to want a quarterback, obviously. That's sort of the big hole in the class. No linebackers. You need some cornerbacks. And then interior O-line. All the O-linemen currently committed to this class, which are 2. They're both tackles, so we're going to need to get probably a center and at least one other interior offensive lineman to round out this class, which is pretty average as far as, make it a well-rounded class. Now that my rant about recruits is over, sort of dumping all the information on you guys, have you seen sort of a lot of these announcements of Pitt being on these top X graphics, 10, 12, or more 4-stars announcing official visits to the school?
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I feel like that's been kind of a thing over the last couple years. Maybe I feel like I've just been seeing that more and more, which is cool. The one that you included the link here to.
It's taking a step in the right direction. We're on the graphics. Now we just got to get a couple more commitments, dudes. Couple more hard closes here.
Close them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Williams comes to mind.
Yeah.
And Mama called for him. Florida guy going to Florida State. That's going to be pretty hard to close on.
We need a couple of unmarked envelopes sliding across coffee tables here, Narduzzi. We can.
I want unmarked drones dropping off a safe in the backyard.
We're only doing NIL with Bitcoin now.
Oh God, no!
Keep it untraceable.
That's how you lose a recruiting class before signing day.
We'll give you one bored ape if you commit today.
If you had to guess, who would be the first college football team to give out NFTs as NIL bonuses?
Are those even still a thing?
They're not, but who would do it 3 years after it's too late? So, my answer is Miami.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the Ole Miss or Mississippi State because they just found out about them. Just picturing Lake Kevin being like NFTs. All right, we can make this work.
Yeah.
These are cool.
So it's a picture with money. I don't know.
So this picture that a computer made, if me smoking a fat blunt on it, is worth $400,000.
Our players will like this.
We're calling them lane trains, right?
I would actually buy a lane train NFT.
All right. Well, good thing that we don't get paid for this because I don't want you spending your money on that. Going back to the topic, the recruiting graphic Kent mentioned was for Aaron Scott Jr., the number 2 cornerback in the 24 class. So seeing Pitt on this graphic with schools like Ohio State, USC, Florida State, Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Oregon, and Kentucky. Then there's just Pitt there. It's really cool to see. Now, the graphics is cool and everything, but definitely the more important thing is we're getting a lot of official visits announced. I believe the official visit season comes up in June. We've got a lot of players, more 4-star guys taking official visits to Pitt this year. Obviously, there were a lot last year. I'm thinking that possibly with the draft coming up, and we'll get to draft players later, but maybe we can see a bump from the draft, obviously. We're going to see Izzy drafted, probably Servassier, maybe Jared Wayne, obviously Kalijah Cansey. Maybe that gives us a bump. Obviously, winning 20 games in 2 years going to give you a bump eventually. One guy I want everyone to keep their eyes on. This I'm not breaking news, not an insider, but Sincere Edwards. He's taking an official visit, but he is committed to UCF. He's a 4-star edge from Florida. Want to see if that's possible flip territory. Obviously, UCF's now a Power 5 team, but if we could flip a guy like that, that would be really cool to have a guy flip to us instead of the other way around. Simply put. And then obviously it's recruiting's not without the downsides. So we're obviously we already lost Anthony Spica, Central Catholic linebacker, to Penn State a while ago. Kenny Wosley, a cornerback from Philadelphia, who is Jashir Whittington's teammate, committed to Penn State. I can't remember how long ago. And recently, Quentin Martin, the number 1 player in Pennsylvania, committed to Penn State as well. He's a Whitfield guy, so you really do hate to see that. But this brings us into our next topic. Some tweets from a former player. Mason, you wanna take the reins on this one?
Yeah. So I'm sure most of you who are listening have seen it by now, but Paris Ford took to the keyboard this, I guess it was almost like a week ago now, right?
Little over a week ago.
A little over a week ago, yeah. Basically, and I quote, this is the Paris Ford tweet: "The realest coach and who's really keeping Pitt alive is at Coach Partridge. Let's talk about it. Coach Dews blackballed me and said I was too wild. Mind you, I was never once suspended or academically ineligible. I love Pitt with all my heart, but how they did me dirty was foul." So a little bit unhappy with Nard Dog and this apparent blackballing of Paris Ford.
Yeah, I'm not sure you get to claim you were blackballed if you ran like a 5-something at your pro day, whatever you ran. Said he was too wild. I mean, Paris Ford was good for a unsportsmanlike conduct play at least once every other game, right?
Yeah, listen, you want your guys to play with passion, but he was an idiot sometimes. And I don't know. He also said some stuff about how like they couldn't really develop the talent of DBs there, which is like, dude, go look at a couple of players in the league. Like there are people being very successful right now that came through the same program that you did. So I don't know. It felt like kind of a cheap shot at Narduzzi. But I don't know. You never really know the full story, right?
I mean, I really don't like the whole like they can't develop players, considering like, so in his draft class, the one before it and the one after, you had Dane Jackson, Jason Pinnock, DeMar Hamlin, and Damari Mathis all drafted over the span of those 3 years. And it's not Coach Narduzzi's fault that you were not drafted. You were coming into his senior season. He was highly regarded as one of the best safety prospects for the NFL, and he played himself and tested himself out of an NFL job. And then he followed it up later, replying to you sort of mentioned this, replying to this account called @Pitt is a has-been one, which obvious Penn State fan. I mean,
Hell of a burner.
Quentin Martin was at Pitt last month. Give Coach Dews Pitt football one last chance to close the deal. Fact is, Narduzzi can't recruit elite talent. Another fact, you can't coach elite talent, as Paris Ford pointed out. They just replied, facts. Come on.
The recruiting part is true. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. I don't know if that has to do with any of his coaching abilities, because I don't know if you can take a 3-star, make him an NFL talent. I would say that's pretty good coaching and development. But that's just me as a Pitt fan.
Yeah, I mean, Rashad Weaver was a 2-star.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I don't want to call it like attention grabbing or like kind of trying to get attention, but that's what it seems like, because That's just what it is.
Yeah. Before we move on, I know you mentioned Damar Hamlin. Some news for him today. He's been fully cleared to play football once again. So shout out to Damar. Congrats.
He was basically playing Saturday at the spring game anyway. The way he was running around. So, but no, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's wild.
It's been what, like 6-8 months, something like that. Not even.
Yeah. What? When was
Week
it?
14.
I was gonna say it was pretty late in the season.
Week 14. Yeah.
Yeah, around that time period.
4.5 months ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. Seeing that picture of Damar Hamlin in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, you showed that to somebody like a year ago, or even like when he was like a senior in college. Like, if you showed a Pitt fan that like a few years ago, oh my goodness, like.
That would be, yeah. We'd be like, I guess he won the Super Bowl, but why is it just him? Turns out it was not that at all. It is so funny seeing him in the Oval Office.
That was great. Big shout out to Damar though.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk some NFL, some pro day, some NFL draft, some NFL combine.
Let's do it. Officially 9 days out from draft day.
First Super Bowl of the year for many teams in the NFL. All right, let's start with the big one, the most obvious one. Kalijah Kancey, been projected many times as a first rounder. I don't even know what more to say.
He's a freak.
He's a freak, man.
He's a freak. His 40 time was like faster than some linebackers and a couple other like skill players. It was faster than the one that Paris Ford ran by, a good chunk of the second. I forget what the actual time was. 4.6 something, 4.5 something.
I thought it was like high 4.4.
It might have been. I just remember it being insane for a guy his size to go and put up that time.
Yeah, I mean, other than the 40 time, he posted a 33.5-inch vertical jump and told reporters he was clocked at 6.82 in the 3-cone drill, which would have been the number one of either of those at this year's combine. His unofficial 20-yard shuttle of 4.33 also would have been a high mark for any defensive tackle this year. And also, I learned this recently, he's attending the draft in Kansas City.
I've seen mock drafts with him going like in the as high as the early teens. So
yeah,
I feel like I've seen him just like not in the first round at all, but also like somewhere he's like near the top. So
yeah,
he's kind of all over the place. It'll be interesting to kind of see where he goes.
Obviously, rooting for the earlier, earlier the better. But also don't want to see him go to a team that I don't like because I want to root for the guy.
Yeah, and that's interesting with the three of us because we all dislike different teams. So
it's gonna be really tough to find like a neutral team for us. But we'll figure it out.
I really want to see him on the Jets. Him and Quinn Williams next to each other would be awesome.
Zach's a Jets fan.
Oh, Jets fan. How's Lamar, buddy?
Oh God!
Didn't think that one through.
Oh God! Yeah, I'm tired of talking about him, so we'll keep it out of this. But yeah, hopefully Kansas goes somewhere that we're all like, okay, we'll root for him there.
Even though you're forced to root for Kenny Pickett as a Steeler.
I am. I really am. Rooting for the boy. Good luck, Kenny.
All right. Next up, Izzy. A 41.5-inch vertical leap. He had a 40-yard dash at the pro day. It says in the range of 4.26 and 4.32. He didn't run at the combine. I think he was dealing with an injury. The best timed 40 at the combine was 4.32, which is the high end of his time, and the best vertical leap was 40 inches. So he beat that by 1.5 inches. 41.5 inches is an insane vertical leap.
Yeah. I know we saw Nike Sabandi in the college dunk contest. I imagine that Izzy could probably throw a couple pretty good dunks down too with that.
Now I want to see that.
Yeah.
Also, that 41.5-inch height was matched by Servassier Dennis and Jared Wayne.
Just a couple of bunnies, man.
Man, these guys. Man, all these guys need to be drafted. Every single one of these guys needs to be drafted.
Yeah. Where's Izzy like mocked right now? What round? Do we have an idea? Like 4th or later?
If I had to guess, just with kind of the way the running back, other than Saquon, with the way the running back's been getting drafted, I would think probably he's a
Third, fourth.
day two at best.
Yeah, I mean Bijan's the only lock for the first round, probably. I mean Bijan, yeah, most likely a lock for the first round, but could fall to the second round, just like you said, running backs. But
I don't know. I've seen him graded as high as like the second, and as low as like the 4th or 5th. So I think that range that we kind of gave is right about where a lot of those guys go. But
were there any first-round running backs in last year's draft? Doesn't this top of your head?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, the answer is no. The first running back taken last year was Breece Hall at the top of the second.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Bijan, I don't know. Bijan seems probably like a day one guy, but after him, there's still some running backs that are, mocked definitely between Bijan and Izzy. If you can get Izzy in the 4th round, I mean, that's a steal.
Yeah.
Eagles have a need at running back, and wouldn't hate that.
All the Ravens have are running backs and tight ends, so we'll take it.
I think you're out on Izzy, Kent. Sorry,
dude. We might. Hey, we love him. Keep giving us more.
The Ravens play like that one asshole in fantasy football that drafts all the tight ends with their first 4 picks, so you have to trade them.
Yeah.
That's the Ravens front office in a nutshell.
Hey, well, finally got a receiver. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll switch things up this year. Who knows? Exciting times. Don't have a quarterback, but we have an OC.
Fair enough. Okay, Servassier Dennis is next. Obviously, we talked about his vertical leap for a linebacker that would have been 6th highest in NFL Combine history at 41.5. Also a 4.52 unofficial 40-yard dash. Draft this man. We saw him play for 2 or 3 years. I believe he has one of the highest composite scores as well, as far as like players. No, Izzy scored very high on it as well. My friend was telling me about it, but once again, another steal pick for teams. I mean, we're going to talk about the rest of these guys: Baldonado, Warren, Carter Warren, that is, Jared Wayne. These guys should all be like late round steals, especially like Carter Warren. I've seen tweets of him like rising up draft boards. Baldonado would probably be a day 3 guy, and Jared Wayne, if he goes undrafted, is a crime, and we will be investigating, honestly, allegations of blackballing Jared Wayne because he is Canadian.
Okay.
I stamp that.
Also, I did some research. If Baldonado was going to be drafted, if he does get drafted, right, he would be the first non-specialist player to be selected by a team that was born in Italy.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, everyone else either undrafted, and the only players that did get drafted, as far as the information I found, were a couple of like kickers and punters from like the early days of the NFL.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see. I mean, yeah, like you said, hope all these guys get drafted. Wherever they do end up, whether it's drafted in whatever round or going undrafted, that NFL team is getting a dog out of each and every one of these guys. So there's been guys before them that have proved that have gone to the league late from Pitt or undrafted from Pitt that have been very quality players. So I expect nothing less from these guys. So
It would also be cool. I think 2 years ago we had the most drafted in the ACC with like 6 guys. And I think with this draft class we do have a pretty good opportunity to like stack up on those late round picks of guys going to teams. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That's all I got on football. Unless anyone has anything that I didn't talk about, I talked a lot.
no. Yeah.
No, let's talk hoops, baby.
Let's talk hoops. All right. First, Nate Santos is out. I
Who
don't know.
cares? Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, wish him the best, but
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah. It wasn't like Hughley situation. At least, like it seemed like he kind of was just like, I'm gonna go somewhere I can probably play a little bit more. And
Yeah.
after the guys that we kind of brought in, it felt like he was moving even further down on the bench. So that's just the name of the game these days.
Yep. Especially because, he wasn't. Obviously, there were a lot of reports like, yeah, he shoots lights out in practice. For whatever reason, that didn't translate to the games. Obviously, best luck for wherever he goes, wherever he lands. Now, moving on to 2 new transfers that came in from the portal. Obviously, they come in from the portal. Where else do they come from? Zach Austin from High Point, a small forward, and Ish Leggett from Rhode Island, who's a guard. So, did you watch, I literally looked up, on YouTube, these players' highlights. And
I
there's
watched. Yeah, I saw Zach Austin's, and his looks pretty good. It was a lot of shooting stuff, which obviously fits into what we kind of did this past year. He shot I looked at his stats too. Shot a lower percentage than I would have thought. But I don't know. That doesn't always tell the full story. He looks like a really good athlete as well. He has some pretty cool dunks. Caught this reverse lob the one time. That was a pretty cool one on the highlight. So it's it seems like he'll fit in and give, I don't know. Hinson's great. He can shoot. He plays bigger than he is, but you look at him, he's not a great athlete. I think Zach Austin will kind of come in and fill in that 3-and-D role that we need there in the small forward position.
I mean, something that I saw, he is a great inside finisher, getting to the basket. He's going to go for major dunk attempts. He's really good at handling passes down low, not just lobs, but something we saw with Fede this year is, when they got the ball to him down low, he kind of looked like, ah, shit, what do I do now? This guy was really good at catching the ball down low and putting it in the bucket. And the one thing I noticed is he had a very, very janky-looking shooting form, but it works. It works.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, his stats from last year: 14.4 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2.2 blocks, shooting 32% from 3. Did you get a chance to look at the Rhode Island transfer, the guards tape at all?
No, I did not. I did not get to look at any of that.
Okay, so it was a 2-minute highlight tape. So the knee-jerk reaction, and this is probably a little bit of an overreaction. He kind of looks like bigger Nelly Cummings to me. He's really good at cutting to the rim, getting to the rim. He has nice vision on assists, and he isn't afraid to shoot on perimeter jab steps like Nelly. His last year stats were 16.4 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 2.4 assists per game. The one thing that's sort of telling in these 2 transfers is 8 rebounds per game and 6 rebounds per game. Rebounding is going to be a major, major focus for what Cable's getting from the transfer portal this year.
Yeah, that's a great call. I didn't even think about that, but props to him for realizing the need and going out and getting some guys that'll go at the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't look at Ish's highlights, but his stats, leading scorer on Rhode Island, had a really nice year. So yeah, excited to get some more scoring in. They still have a couple roster spots, so they could still get 1 or 2 more guys, maybe a pure shooter and maybe another center or something. Because I still think I would like the Twins to play more of a 4 than a 5. But right now, yeah, kind of looking like assuming everybody else stays, starting 5 next year could be Dior-ish, Zach Austin, Hinson, and then Federico. So
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
got
I
a
also
couple
agree.
freshmen guards. Yeah, and then Jeffress and Twins on the bench. So
It's a nice little squad.
Yeah. I also agree with your take that probably the two needs, and we do have 2 roster spots left as far as scholarships go. Sort of a outside sniper to pair with Hinson. We know about his shooting ability, but having another guy like that would be great. And then, a true big man, because right now we've got Fede, Austin, the Twins, who are all good in their own respects. We do need a true 5.
yeah, so
I saw a highlight tape. It's there's a transfer center from Buffalo who I really like. I'm gonna.
Oh, I did see that, like 6'11" guy.
6'11", yeah. I looked up transfer center Buffalo, and I looked up transfer center Buffalo, and I got a waste management East Side garbage transfer station. So
Like that.
let me add basketball to that. Isaac Jack's his name. And there's a report of contacting him on April 10th, which was 8 days ago.
Cool.
So, people, you know what to do.
Give him the bag. If Jim Boeheim had to say, he'd say that we gave him the bag. So give him the bag.
Give him an NFT, whatever you want.
See, this is why the O should have been propped up by the university itself, because remember how Tennessee was giving recruits money in McDonald's bags?
No.
Wait, what?
Sure.
No, what?
You guys don't remember that?
No.
No.
So the Tennessee coach before Heupel pretty much got fired because the NCAA caught him basically giving bag money to recruits in McDonald's bags.
That's kind of sick. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But, I mean, think about a bag of O fries. How much money could you hide in a bag of O fries?
the dollar bills would just come out sopping wet with grease.
The cash is completely unusable.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I have not been to what's the place?
No,
now?
you're right. You see somebody struggling carrying a bag of fries. That's just someone walking back from the O. There's no money in that bag. That's just French fries.
Exactly. And they're on a recruiting visit. They're just seeing the top spots on campus where everyone likes to get food.
Checking out the local cuisine.
The
Local cuisine. I mean,
You got to go.
McDonald's-
You got to go to the back corner and order them extra crispy, and that's how they know you're coming for the bag money.
Mother of 4 walks out with 100K.
Just because she ordered her fries extra crispy.
We're gonna have to think of a different code word. I'm gonna be honest.
We'll workshop it. We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. Anything else? It's been a pretty good episode.
Yeah, no, it's been solid. I don't really have much else.
Now, what do we have coming up next?
Next week we're gonna have a friend of the pod on to discuss the NFL draft, because there really isn't much else to talk about. Be on the lookout. New logo, new episode art's coming out. Don't be scared when that changes over. Still the same podcast. Possibly I'm going to have a written piece out on Pitt football coming up soon. I'll update everyone about that.
It's column season.
It's a New York Times opinion piece, actually.
Some were calling it a manifesto.
Listen, I'm on enough watch lists as it is. I don't need another one. All right. No, other than that, I mean, hell, it's going to be conference preview season before you guys even know it. So we're going to be stretching our podcasting muscles, warming up takes, taking them out of the oven, actually taking them out of the freezer. We're defrosting them. We're making a big bowl of take chili.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go, dude. Even though
It's
it's
gonna
too
simmer. It's gonna simmer all summer.
Oh, it's hot enough outside now. You can just let that chili outside now. And it'll be cooked in 4 months.
Low and slow, baby. Low and slow.
All right. Thank you once again for listening to Simplified Podcast. 1 year anniversary, 1,000 downloads. Thank you to all the fans. I've been joined by my co-hosts Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood, and with that, we'll see you next week. No more big break.
Hail to Pitt.